Hello, everyone, and welcome to another ASUG Partner Webcast. My name is Maureen McInerney, Partner Marketing Specialist here at ASUG, and I'll be your moderator for this event. I'd like to thank everyone for joining us today. Today's webcast is being recorded. The link to the recording and the accompanying slides will be posted to the ASUG website calendar of events, and all registrants from today will receive a follow-up email with the link to those materials once the webcast has concluded. For the best viewing experience, we recommend using a wired internet connection and closing any programs or browser sessions running in your background. The webcast is streamed through your computer, so there is no dial-in number. You can find additional answers to some common technical issues located in the Help Engagement tool at the bottom of your screen. I'd like to remind our audience members that you can submit your questions at any time by using the Q&A widget on your console or by clicking the purple Q&A button at the bottom of your screen. Questions will be answered during our Q&A at the end of the presentation. Today's webcast is delivering on the promise of reliable self-service business intelligence, sponsored by NewIntelligence. Our speakers today are Dennis Stauss, Vice President of Operations and Supply Chain from Arani, and Corey Mendelson, President of NewIntelligence. And with that, I'll hand it over to Corey to get us started today.
Thank you very much, Maureen. I'd like to thank everyone for sitting in on today's session. Today we're going to be talking about how Arani saw the light with SAP Business One and IBM Cognos Analytics and delivering the promise of self-service business intelligence. So we'll go right in.
Thank you, everyone. Just want to thank you for your time. Hopefully we bring a lot of value over the next hour or so.
So today's agenda, we're going to be covering the introduction. We'll go through the challenges and scope of what has been challenged from an Arani perspective. We're going to go directly into an overview of the solution that is in play at Arani. We will talk to you about a demonstration and showing you live in terms of what can be done and how you can go about working with the solution. Talk to you about the solution architecture, and finally finish off with a Q&A.
Thank you, Corey. Hi, everyone. So a bit about Arani. Arani's been in business for just over 10 years, celebrating our 10th birthday just recently. We're currently headquartered in Montreal. Not in this deck, but I'm very proud to report that we've worked our way onto the Growth 500 list for the third consecutive year. And what we do essentially as a company is design, manufacture, and distribute LED products. And our focus is really in retrofitting residential, commercial, and industrial projects and landscapes. We differentiate ourselves from the competition by way of providing best-in-class customer service, not just, on our opinion, but that of our customers, and ultimately providing versatile products that meet the needs of the solution and ultimately are tailored and easy to install. The landscape continually evolves, and we continually add new products and append to our line. What we at the root try to do is always solve in the most simplistic way possible the issues of the people we work with. And right now, today, we have about a dozen staff and a group of about 20 sales reps and agents working across North America. So when I started with the company about 3 years ago and I met with the owner, the company was successful with having some issues and some challenges. There was some barriers we're running into in our success. We basically had insightful information lacking in a very quickly evolving business. The company was achieving great results, but not necessarily, looking at the information in the right way. I was spending a lot of time manipulating data and reports created in Access and Excel. And as we grew, the management team and the group entirely was really limited in what we were looking at, and we weren't being too proactive in what we were doing or really in our planning mode. We were more reactive and reactionary with what we were looking at. And as a result, because we had limited funds as a smaller company at the time and resources, we had a lot of opportunities, but we weren't sure exactly how and what to exploit first, so we were a bit scattered in our approach. So problems we had was really fundamentally getting good data with good integrity out of the system at the right time. We just didn't have a punctual reporting package. We had a reliance on one or two people in the company, with myself being one of them, to really disseminate information throughout the company. There was definitely a lot of time running reports and not enough time analyzing reports. And we were a culture of basically throwing data around that was essentially stale the moment it was finished being prepared. And as a result, we were successful, but we had friction. We had some issues with our internal service levels weren't being met with our sales team, and there was some definite friction in some of the meetings. A general lack of confidence in what we were delivering in terms of reporting, and ultimately no one was exactly sure what the numbers meant. Some of the limitations we had were that we didn't have information available to us as a company at the levels of detail that we're used to managing our business with. We have a highly technical product in lighting. However, the user-defined fields and objects that we're used to and associating with our products were missing from some of the reports. And also the team here wasn't adept at authoring crystal reports or creating crystal reports or queries in general in SAP Business One. And I wasn't necessarily expecting them to be. That's not their focus. And as a result, while we had a very good ERP in what we built with SAP Business One, the framework we were working with was a bit limited as it related to really sales level data and having data at different levels and comparative analysis, how we were doing in our trending, how we were doing versus last year, last month. We didn't have a good insight or evaluation on our product line performance, and then essentially our dashboarding. So we're doing a lot of things. We were achieving results, but we weren't exactly sure where it was coming from. The goal we had at the onset of the project was basically to create an accurate and self-service reporting suite. We didn't have an IT department, so I was the technical lead for Arani, and we worked with NewIntelligence, and we got basically down to some top priorities. What we needed ultimately was to know we were looking at good data, and we need better data integrity. We wanted to have basically what Corey, I'm sure, will refer to as one version of the truth. As many people were working with different numbers, and ultimately there was no consistency or integrity. The reporting efficiencies had to improve. We had to reduce the amount of manipulations we were making with reporting and data. We needed to make sure that we were self-service, that not just one or two people in the organization could run reports or create reports, that decision makers or people who were responsible for various areas of focus in the company were empowered and could create ad hoc reports as they saw fit and scheduled them and distributed them as they needed. And we realized, with a vast, obvious background in terms of what we could go after here, our initial win would best come with a focus on order book and supply chain. That's where we would gain the most wins out of the gate. And what we needed to have for sure was, as we grew, as we wanted to leverage more out of our reporting suite, we needed to have a development area or a sandbox that we could test and evaluate changes in. So prerequisite to all this is that we didn't want to go into any new reporting suite with data integrity issues. We needed to basically have those resolved and identified. So what we did was we pulled a lot of data, and we spent some time pulling tables and reports and ultimately evaluating where we were missing or had erroneous figures. We met as a team, we had some tiger teams, and we essentially identified what the root causes were with regards to these data integrity issues. And once we implemented the process and we really solved the problems that were data integrity resulting in the background, then basically we moved forward and repaired the data. In working with NewIntelligence, once we fixed our data, we developed customized content and business rules. So with the NewIntelligence team, we helped identify the things that we needed, the specific data elements in SAP Business One that we wanted, especially the user-defined fields that we had for our technical product, the tables that we required, and ultimately the calculations and rules that we wanted in how we evaluate our business, how we look at our key figures, what denotes a net sale and how we look at profitability. And by calculating and creating calculations on the back end with NewIntelligence, we basically predefined things in a way that eliminated the redundancy or need to do it on the reporting end. So essentially, you could bring in key metrics into the reporting environment in a way that was standard with how we evaluated things, whether it was net sales or profitability. And as a result, at the conclusion of the project, I would just say this. I would say that we are an informed organization, where before we were a successful but yet scattered organization. We definitely have a dashboarding environment that informs us at the right levels for the executive team. We have tailored reporting going out to various areas of the company on quotes, orders, sales, and inventory. And we've ultimately taught our user base how to fish and how to basically create their own reports for their areas of focus in a way that's efficient and quick and reporting on meaningful data for them. Over to you, Corey.
Great. Thanks, Dennis. That was a great introduction. So at the end of the day, what we were trying to do with Arani was really to address, their biggest need was to have something that they can manage in-house, something that they could, manage on their own without involving third party from a technical perspective or even from a business perspective, to give them something that allowed them to deploy this capability to not only one person in the organization, but to various people. And that's really what we were trying to achieve, what they were trying to achieve from putting this system in place. Now, the solution that we ended up putting in was IBM Cognos Analytics, and it really ended up meeting what they wanted to do. Because at the end of the day, they were a growing company, and they had business needs, and decisions were being made by gut instinct. And this provided them the ability to have the information at their fingertips to be able to answer those questions with the facts behind it. Now, the information that was being done before, there was a lot of extractions that were happening and bringing things into either Microsoft Excel or to some other, other database where they were doing a number of manipulation, and then they would do some massaging of the data, and it would take them about 4 to 5 days to get everything organized into the formats that they wanted. And as a result, they were only really analyzing the information on a monthly basis. So it really provided them visibility instead of flying blind throughout the month. And so now what ends up happening is they have the information that's refreshed on a daily basis. And they have the ability to refresh it even more frequently if they wanted, but at the end of the day, it's giving them that refresh and visibility every single day of what's going on. And as they have their reports that have been created or their dashboards, everything is automatically refreshed. Now, at the end of the day, the benefits that they've got was really better decision-making capability, having something that allowed them to deploy within multiple users, multiple departments within the company, but also standardize things so that it allowed them to work and evolve with it as the company continued to grow. At the end of the day, we look at Arani as a great partner relationship that we work together in regards to collaborating to what they wanted to achieve, and we help them get there. And today, Dennis is able to go in and be able to do things on his own, be able to make additions and modifications without involving third party like ourselves. But again, we're always being there as a resource if they have questions or concerns or things that they want to be able to do, more like a sounding board. So from a solution perspective, what's in play is, or what they're working with is, there's 11 key areas that we're focusing on, from quotations to orders to delivery to the invoicing sales module to inventory, purchasing, CRM from SAP Business One, available to sell, accounts receivable, accounts payable, and finally GL financial reporting. So what we're really doing at the end of the day is making almost a menu type like system that's available for business users to be able to create reports and dashboards by simple drag and drop. So you'll see things that are organized So if you look at the diagram, you can see that we've got information as it relates to calendar information, where you can look at things calendar or fiscal. You have contact information. You have your salespeople. And then you have things like your items. And you'll notice everything is organized in folders with proper business usernames that can be relabeled by the customer. Again, we're making fields available that are the most commonly used ones. However, if there are ones that are needed, part of the implementation process is that's what gets put in. So if there are user-defined fields like Arani had, we put in those user-defined fields, so it provided them that visibility to be able to report on things, to be able to look at things the way they want. They've got the information on customers, which is bill to and ship to. They've got supplier information. And then they've got all of the other areas such as quotations and orders and purchases. And you'll notice that I have an area for sales credits. And for those very familiar, inside of SAP Business One, the information for sales is in one set of tables for the sales header and sales detail. But for credits, it's in another set of tables. So what we've done is we've consolidated the information for sales and credits in one area, so you get that net position. However, if you wanted to focus in just on sales, or if you wanted to focus just on credits, there's a transaction type field that's there that allows you to isolate just for that. Okay, so there's a lot of other information that's available. Again, being able to look at things however you want, whether or not you want to see things by item, warehouse, and so forth. From an inventory perspective, you have that capability. Now, from the financial reporting side of things, that's ingrained in there is there's a whole area of being able to look at your financial statements. So being able to look at things by GL period, by looking at your chart of accounts, your transactions, and so forth. But again, the information that's here is allowing you to create interactive financial statements with the ability to not only create them and look at them and drill down on them, but the ability to go right down to the journal entry, right down to the memo field, to the posting date, to see what made up that amount. And if you have those budgets that are loaded inside of SAP Business One, we're able to pull the budget information and allow you to do the actual versus budget. And not only looking at, let's say, period 1, period 2, and period 3, but you can look at summarize. So you can say, I want to see it also with Q1 of this year and Q1 of last year, to be able to do true comparison side by side with both actual and budget. And that's something that we're going to show in the demo as well. Okay. So right now we're going to go right into the demonstration so you can see exactly what things are all about. And again, we're going to focus on, first and foremost, on the dashboarding side, and then we'll go into some of the other things with regards to reporting and GL financials. So first and foremost, we're going to be going into the dashboards. The dashboards are really, a representation at a high level of, giving the ability from a user perspective to be able to create these dashboards. Look and feel of something like this that's there is what we're going to show in the demo, how we can create these high-level metrics. And again, once these dashboards are created, they can be saved, and every time that you open it up, it's automatically going to be refreshed with the latest information. And again, they're interactive, so we're making information available that you can click on, and things are going to change accordingly. So now what we're going to do is I'm going to show you that we're inside of the portal type environment. And what you can see from a portal perspective, you're going to see some reports that are there, some commonly used reports or the last reports that were made available. Again, this is information that you can click on some of the most recent reports, and all of these things become available for you to click on, and they'll automatically open and refresh with the latest information. But you'll notice in the bottom left-hand corner, you're going to see that there's a new button. And that new button is going to give you something and asking you, what do you want to do? And it's going to allow you to say, well, what do I want to do? Do I want to create a report, or do I want to create a dashboard? Again, I just always look for that plus sign. And when I click on that plus sign, it's going to show me, what do I want to do? Do I want to create a report? Do I want to create a dashboard? This time what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to create a dashboard. And the first thing that's going to come up, it's going to ask me what kind of template that you want. So I'm going to choose a template that I like, and then I'm just going to go ahead and click on OK. Now, once my template is there, I have my format and everything is there, I'm going to actually connect to my data source, which is what was been created specifically for SAP Business One. I'm going to go in, I'm going to select that package created specifically for SAP Business One, and then I'm going to see all the information that I showed in the previous slide that becomes available. So as I mentioned, I have the information on calendar. I have the information on salespeople. And if I open up calendar, you're going to see I can open up calendar and I can see the year, the quarter, the month. Again, these fields are available for reporting purposes. I'll see the information on salespeople. I'll see the information on items. And again, everything is organized into folders and structure. So I have my general folder that I can open up, and I can see that I have my description and my family, also known as item group. And again, I've got information that's there on cost cell. I've got information on supply. Again, everything's organized. Again, from a ship-to perspective, I got my ship-tos and bill-tos. If I open up my bill-to, again, I've got a general area that I can look at. I've got my address information. And again, I have the ability to look at things at the lowest level of detail or at the highest level of detail. If I open up general, I'll see my customer description. I'll see my customer group, my territory, my salesperson that's tied to the customer master, as opposed to the salesperson that did the actual transaction. And then I'm going to open up sales credits. And inside of sales credits, as I mentioned before, I have sales and credits combined for net position. So again, I have information for doc info and line info. Again, these are the header fields, and these are the line item fields. Again, depending on how you want to look at things, and the key thing is depending on the level of granularity that you include into your dashboard or into your report, that's going to determine how things get rolled up. You're also going to see another area that's there specifically for line key figures, and those are the metrics that are becoming available. So if I open up doc info, you're going to see things like invoice number, invoice date, and so forth. If I open up the line key figures, I'm going to see the measures that are being made available. Again, these are some of the ones that are standard out of the box, but again, they can be customized. So now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take the net sales, and I'm going to drag it up into one of the quadrants, and you're going to see it's going to summarize the information for net sales. So you're going to see that number of 83,171,622. Next thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and drag and drop gross profit and put it right next to it. So again, depending on what you're including, that's going to determine how things are getting summarized. I'm going to bring in two other measures right now, which is going to be discounts and commissions. So again, this is more of a dashboard-like feel just to show you how easy it is to create your own dashboard from scratch. The next thing that I'm going to do is I'm actually going to go ahead and format the information. So make it look more like a dashboard-like. So instead of seeing 407,920, I'm going to go ahead and format it so it shows up as an abbreviated number as 408K by just formatting and clicking on that. And then I can apply that format to the other three there so everything looks consistent. The next thing that I want to do, or what I'm going to show, is how they go ahead and bring things into perspective. So we're going to go into the item master, and we're going to see some information as it relates to item family, which is, again, also known as item group. And if I go ahead, I'm just going to drag that into the lower right-hand quadrant. So I'm going to see my item families that become available there. So from there, again, I have that. I'm going to resize things to the way I want things to look because I want to make available for another area. I want to bring in something else, not just the item family. I want to bring some information on salesperson. So I'll bring the salesperson right beside that, and you're going to see both of that information available. Again, I'm going to go ahead and resize it by just sliding things across, and now things are there. Now I have the ability to filter things, to bring things into context. So I have the ability to click on an item, such as an example, an item family, such as LED drivers, and I can see that my numbers have changed. I see now that I'm looking at $2.23 million with $974K of gross profit. So again, I have that ability to interact with the dashboard. I can click on a specific salesperson, as an example, AFS agency, and now it's a combination of LED drivers and AFS agency. If I go ahead and select another salesperson, it's going to consolidate that. So now it's for AFS and Chris G together for LED drivers. I can remove the filter by just control-clicking that one that I want, or in the top right-hand corner of the filters, just click on Delete Filter. Again, it's very interactive, very intuitive from a business user perspective, and that's what, that's how they really work with it and create their own dashboards and so forth, where they can have multiple tabs that they're looking at. Right now, we're only creating one tab. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring in some additional information. I'm going to bring in the gross profit, but I'm going to bring that and just bring it onto the canvas in the lower left-hand corner. So I'm going to see that same number of that. Now what I can do is I want to bring that into perspective in a different way from a visualization perspective. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into my bill to, and I'm going to go ahead and take my bill to customer group, and I'm going to drag it right on top of the 27.4 million. What's going to happen is it's going to show the information with a display that it thinks is the best display. In this case, it's a bar chart. So now what's going to happen is I don't really like that display. I might want to change it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to change it to a word cloud. And the word cloud allows me to look at things with the biggest font is being the biggest representation of the numbers. So I can see that contrast lighting accounts for the biggest. Or in this case, when I'm filtering on LED drivers, I can see that it's commercial. And if I put my mouse over it, you can see that it's $260K. Or for others, it's $374,000. Again, it brings everything to perspective depending on what you're clicking on. And everything's going to dynamically change in the graphical representation. Again, I can click on a specific salesperson, and again, that information shows up. And again, you have the ability to put your mouse over it to see the exact numbers. I can go ahead now and remove all those filters, and everything comes back to normal. Now, up until this point, we've only looked at things from an item group perspective, from a salesperson perspective, and the information that's there. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the calendar information. So I'm going to bring in the year. And it's going to show me a list of those years that are available for me to select on. But what I'm going to do is I don't want to have this drop down like this. What I'm going to do is I'm actually going to change the visualization or the display so it shows up as what we refer to as a data player. So it's sort of like a little play button where you can now select the individual years that you want, or you have a little play button that's available there on the left-hand side that it will just scroll through and continually change. And notice as I'm clicking on it, my graphical representation in the bottom left-hand corner is changing, as well as my metrics. So again, that's the way we work with from a graphical representation of working with dashboards. Moving along, we also have an area of cross-tab reporting that's available. So again, giving you the ability to not just work in dashboards, you may want to get more granular in regards to the reports or the things that you're doing inside of the organization. So here it gives you the ability to create that list where you can have your columns, you can pick and choose what you want, and be able to do calculations and so forth. You have that information that's going on that you're able to see the information. So if I go in, you can see, for example, when you're working with a cross-tab, it's going to ask you, first and foremost, well, what do you want to do? You're always looking for that plus sign. So you're going to see things, do I want to create a list? Do I want to create a cross-tab? Do I want to create a visualization? In this case, what I'm going to do is I'm going to select the cross-tab, and then it's going to show me that I have something that I can pick between my rows and my columns and my measures, similarly to how you would look at something almost like in Excel. And then what happens is you're going to connect to your source where it's going to show you, as I showed you earlier on the left-hand side, all of that information that's available. In this particular case, I'm opening up the item measures, and you can see that I have on-hand quantity, on-order quantity, on-hand cost, and on-order cost. Now, I can select these by control-clicking them, and depending on the order in which I've selected them, that's going to determine the order in which they show up on the report. They can be removed, they can be moved around afterwards, but again, it's just showing you how you can basically be able to do that. From there, you go ahead and drag it into the canvas, and again, you're able to see that information, in what you're looking at. Now, you also have the ability by selecting the measures, in this particular case where you can see on-hand quantity and on-order quantity, and by having them control-clicking them and selecting them, I now have the ability to do a calculation. So I can get a menu that will pop up, a context menu that's going to pop up, that's going to say, okay, well, what do you want to do? Do you want to do on-hand plus on-order, minus, multiply, divide, or do some sort of custom calculation? It's very intuitive and very straightforward as you're working with it. We also have the ability to work with reports that are prompted. So rather than building reports from scratch, you also have the ability to work with a report that's going to ask you a question, but then it'll create if you want, a summarized report at a higher level detail with the ability to what we call drill through, to go to a lower level of detail to launch from one report to another and being able to pass the parameters from one to the other in a very simple fashion. So as an example, you can see here where I've got a prompted report that's asking me which item families do I want to be able to see. So I can select the ones that I want, and again, I just control-click the ones that are there, and I click on OK. From there, it's going to launch a report. It's going to give me the information at the level of detail that I'm asking in the report. If you notice that if I look at LED drivers, I can see I have active, discontinued, and inactive. As well as in LED ceiling lights, I have the same thing, but if you notice for closeout, you're going to notice that I have a 20 number. So that on-hand quantity of 20, I want to get more details on. So I have the ability to click on closeout, and it will launch another report. That report that will get launched is showing up in the bottom right now, and you can see that it's showing the information with regards to the item family for LED ceiling lights, for that status of closeout, and it's giving you the breakdown of that 20. It's showing you some additional information because it's a more detailed report, but you also have the ability to modify that. So once that report is there, you can go in, and any report that you've created, you have the ability to add additional information that you see fit. So what you can do is you can click on Edit the Report, and then from editing the report, it's going to allow you to access the menu that's on the left-hand side that you can then say, okay, I want to drag in minimum order quantity, or I want to also drag in the item number. And again, that report will get created on demand as you see fit, and it's refreshing, on the fly in regards to that. So again, that information is there for you. Moving along into the financial side of things. So from a financial perspective, what we've got is an income statement as an example. So again, what I'm going to be showing you is how you can create an interactive income statement that you can actually go ahead and play with. In this particular case, you're seeing multiple periods. You're seeing quarterlies that are showing up at the same time, both this year and last year from a Q1 perspective, as well as seeing the information with actual and budget. That's all data coming from SAP Business One. Again, with the ability to go down to lower levels of detail, being able to drill down right down to the account. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you, working inside of here, we're going to open up an Excel spreadsheet. And you'll notice from the Excel spreadsheet, you're going to see an area at the top for IBM. So I'm going to click on that area for IBM to be able to start connecting to my information. And this is how things are worked with from that perspective. So you're not just working in a browser. So I'm going to go ahead and connect, and using one of the IBM tools that are there. And you can see right now, once I connect, it's going to ask me what I want to be able to do. So once I'm connected to the environment, it's important that it's going to ask me for some level of authentication. So if you're not signed in, if you don't have access, you're not going to be able to do any of this. So everything is completely secure from that perspective. So I'm going to go ahead and sign in into the application. And again, I'm going to provide a user ID and password. And then what it's going to do is it's going to ask me, what model do I want to be able to work with? Do I want to work with my income statement? Do I want to work with my balance sheet? I'm going to go ahead and start off and open up the package that was created specifically for the income statement. So I'm going to go ahead and select that, and then I'm going to go ahead and click on OK. And what you're going to see on the left-hand side is you're going to see a series of information that's available. You're going to see that you have, the income statement. You're going to see you have, your GL periods. You have your chart of accounts. So open up your GL periods. You're going to see the different years. And if I open up 2019, I'll see my 4 quarters. And if I open up one of my quarters, I'm going to see my 3 periods that are in there. I've got a similar structure with regards to my chart of accounts. If I open up my chart of accounts, I can see that I've got my net income that's there. Opening that up, I've got my profit after financing expenses. And again, everything is organized in a fashion the way I want my hierarchy to show up as it relates to financials. If I go to my versions, I can see my actual and budget that are there. And then if I go into my GL measures, you're going to see that I have my different measures that are showing up from debits to credits to my balance amount, which is my period amount, closing and opening, and so forth. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to create an exploration to show you how easy it is from a business user perspective to do that. So I click on exploration, and I can see the information that's available now. Now what I've done to simplify things, I've created a custom set of the income statement of really exactly how I want to see things. So you'll see that income statement that's there. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take that, and I'm just going to drag and drop that into my rows right onto the canvas. It's as simple as just clicking on it and just bringing it right onto the canvas so that you can see. Once the rows have been set up, what we're going to do is we're going to start bringing in the columns. So we're going to bring in some information as it relates to periods. So we can look at, for example, period 1 in regards to our measure. So I'm going to go where my calendars are, select my period 1. Again, just drag and drop it where the columns are. And again, very straightforward, simple drag and drop in regards to what you're looking at. Once we have the calendar that's showing up in the columns, the next thing that I want to bring in is I want to go ahead and bring in one of my measures. So the measures that I'm going to bring in this particular case is my balance amount, also known as period amount. And again, just drag and drop that where it says include a measure. Again, it's pretty straightforward, very seamless, very user-friendly. But you're looking at the information, you may want to modify it. I want to see it for more than just one period. So I'm going to go ahead and click on Edit. And now on the left-hand side, I see all my GL periods that are there. So this time what I'm going to do is I'm going to select periods 1, 2, and 3. But not only that, I'm also going to select Q1 of 2019 and Q1 of 2018 from a comparative perspective. So I can see all of that information side by side in a very easy fashion. You're just picking the periods that you want to look at. Again, we'll select the period that we want. You can see all the periods that are there, plus the 2 quarters. And we click on OK, and your information gets automatically refreshed with that information on screen. Now, once we have that information in there, I'd say, well, I want to see a little bit more. I don't only want to see my actuals, which is my default. I actually want to see actual versus budget. So I'm going to control-click actual and budget. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to nest it right underneath my GL periods. So now I'm going to be able to see that actual versus budget for a period-by-period basis, as well as for my quarterlies, to see exactly where I stand. Now what I can do is I have the ability to drill down inside of Excel to be able to do that. So again, I can put my mouse over revenues, and you're going to see a plus sign. All I'm going to do is I'm going to double-click. And it's going to give me the next level of detail that's in my chart of account hierarchy. In this particular case, you're going to see revenues again. And I double-click on revenues, and you're going to see the next level that shows up. And again, it's going to allow you to go down to whatever level of detail you want. So if I have sales and other income, in this particular case, right down to the GL account. Okay, again, providing you that sort of flexibility and leveraging all of the niceties that you have inside of Excel. Now, I showed it from an income statement perspective, but you also have the information from a balance sheet perspective as well. Doing the exact same thing that I just showed you, instead of looking at it from a P&L perspective, now you're looking at it from a balance sheet where you have the ability to bring in the information, and not only are you bringing in your balance amount, but you might want to see your opening. You might want to see also your closing and the period amount that happened in there. And again, it's all there with the ability to drill down right down to the GL account. From a financial reporting perspective, this is providing you the ability to not only do what I just showed you down to the GL account, but I want to show you how you can interact with your financial statements to be able to go right down to the journal entry, right down to the transaction. So I'm going to show you a report where that provides that capability and how you're able to leverage that and focus in on what you want to see. So here what I'm going to do is you're going to see now we're going to open up a report that's showing actual versus budget, but it's going to ask you a question. Well, what periods do you want? Do you want period 1, period 2, period 3? And depending on what you select, that's how things are going to get aggregated. So if you say I want to see, if I control-click 1 and 2, that's what's going to show up. In this particular case, I'm only going to focus in on period 1. And looking at that period 1, it's going to show me a pre-created report with my P&L for that specific period. And it's going to show up with all the levels of detail that I want. And again, this time it's going to be a little bit summarized. So it's not going to show all the information right down to the GL account. It's stopping at GL level 3 in this case. And you can see that you've got your balance amount. You can see that you've got your budget amount, and then there's a calculation in there for a variance. So you can see exactly what's going on at that level of detail. However, if you want to be able to see things with regards to your debit amounts and your credit amounts, we can actually look at that as well. So I can see that in this particular case where I've got that, I can see the debits, the credits, and the balance. But if you notice in this report, I've got information with regards to marketing expenses. I'm looking at the information. I can see that I have $45,000 in marketing expenses. I want to focus just on that. I want to see what's going on because I didn't budget anything necessarily for that. So I want to focus in on that, and I'm going to filter just on marketing expenses. So I click on marketing expense, and I say include marketing expense only by clicking on the filter button. And again, that's all you're going to see on the report. Now, once it's filtered on that report, now we can focus specifically on that level of detail. We have the ability to say, well, what information do I want to see over and above for marketing expenses? So what I can do is at the top of the screen, you're going to see a little edit button. And I just got to click on that edit button, and it's going to now show me my entire menu that's available for me to be able to select. Now, if I click on that, you're going to see that menu. And what we're going to do is we're first and foremost going to go ahead and select our GL accounts. So I want to get more detail, so I'll open up the chart of accounts, go to my general info, and you see I have my GL account code, my GL account description. So I'm going to go ahead and select those two, and I'm just going to drag and drop it right next to GL level 3. Again, it's a simple drag and drop, and you just basically drag it right there. You'll see the line, and there it's going to explode things for that $45,000. Now it's showing it for GL account. But again, I'm looking at that information. But now we want to go into even more detail. I want to be able to see information right down to the level of transactions. So I'm going to open up the GL transactions, and I'm going to open up my general info, and I can see the posting date. I can see the transaction. I'm going to pick and choose the stuff, the order in which I want to show it up on the report. The posting date, the reference numbers, the memo, the GL project code, the cost center, and the transaction ID. Again, the order in which I've selected it, and then I'm just going to go ahead and drag and drop it right onto the canvas, and it's going to give me that level of detail right down to the journal entry of what made up that posting amount. So again, you can see all that information on screen at your fingertips with the ability to just click on a button, and you can also export this out to Excel, and you're off to the races. So that's really what I kind of wanted to show from the financial reporting side and the flexibility and capability that you have. Now I'm going to pass the floor over to Dennis, and he'll be talking a little bit more about the Arani dashboard and how he interacts with it himself. Dennis?
Thanks, Corey. So at our core, we are a product company. While we take pride in our service levels, we essentially have product first and foremost. And so basically, I'm just going to take you through what we have as a dashboard here at Arani, that it gives us a good vantage point at a high level, but also provides some ability for us to dive into the weeds, if you will, to really analyze things even at a deeper level, as deep as SKU. Corey, would you mind kicking off the video?
Sure.
So basically, like Corey had done before in his demo, we access our dashboards via a portal. So I'm signing on, and here in my Arani welcome page, I've got some recent things I've accessed. The dashboard's there. However, the dashboard is also kept inside of an area in our team content area. So under dashboards, I have my product dashboard here that I'll open up. Once I open up this product dashboard, it loads pretty quickly, and you'll see that I've got some general filters in the top left. I've got a few years worth of data in terms of what I'm trying to get out of this dashboard in terms of metrics. And one of the first things I do is really expand the dashboard into full screen mode to get the most real estate, if you will, on the screen. These dashboards have a lot of pop and are impressive when you really maximize the real estate on the screen. So on the left here, top left, I've got a pie chart. Basically, item family or item categories with the size of each family represented accordingly in terms of sales. And then on the right, top right, I've got some line charts with sales and 2 years worth of data, and then we've got standard gross margin and, again, 2 years worth of data. What's great about these dashboards is how interactive they are. On the bottom left here, I've got my SKU level group by category information. So what I can do is, depending on how I want to use this, interact with these different areas of the dashboard, and I get to a contextual drilled down result. So in this case here, I clicked on LED linear lighting, and I see what it represents in my pie chart in the top left. And then I can look at my metrics in my line graph and interact with the years to see what's happening. So in the case here of activating 2018, I've drilled into linear lighting for 2018, and I can see basically where it was on the pie chart. Now, if I click on 2019, I see the category is actually growing. It's growing not just in the pie chart, but in the key metrics of sales and standard gross margin. So I've got some nice profitability improvements here year over year. So at a high level, I can meet with my team and I can go through this with the owner and just really kind of provide a top level vantage point by category with, the ability to kind of carry conversations right down to SKU level. The word cloud's great, as you've seen before in some of the demos, because it really represents the data and jumps out by category in terms of what are the top items, if you will, under each category as I interact with the dashboard. So again, like everything's contextual. As I react and click away on my dashboard, I get into the analysis I'm trying to get out of it. And as I use my table here at the bottom left, I go through things at a category item level, and I'm really able to really look at things at the level that I decide to kind of work with and represent graphically. So when you're looking at the table here, for example, on the word cloud, you can see I've got these specific items really jumping out for this category of strips and extrusions, and there's the category on my pie chart, along with the ability for me to interact with my line charts here by year. So that's 2018, and then basically you can see here if I click on 2019, what's happening with this specific category. It's obviously something in terms of success story where you see here that there's just continued growth. So again, these dashboards, they're all contextual, they're all interactive, they all provide analysis depending on how you put them together. What this has done is informed the executive team on how we're doing as a business by category, and it's given the persons in product or the people in product who are responsible for our product line insight on how things are going right down to the granular level. And we can use this kind of information to dictate where we want to go with promotions, where we want to identify SKU rationalization, so on and so forth. And so, yeah, that's our dashboard. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you, Dennis. So the modules that are kind of working right now in terms of from an SAP B1 perspective that are in play, at Arani are the areas of quotations. And again, if you're not working with quotations, you go straight down into orders. And again, the information is organized in a structure between the doc info and the line info and the line configures, and only pulling in the information that we feel is important. And again, if there are fields that we're missing, for Arani, we ended up putting that information in. You've got your sales credits, as I mentioned before, organizing of sales and credits together, being able to differentiate between a credit and a sale at a higher level if you needed to be able to do so, information with regards to purchasing. The other modules that are in there are from CRM, from SAP B1 of activities, being able to report on that information. Items perspective, we're showing that because of the inventory with regards to on hand and being able to go down to item warehouse if need be. The availability to sell, being able to look at things with regards to AR and AP, as well as the delivery module. The respective of financials, you've got GL periods with your chart of accounts and your GL levels. You've got your income statement information that we showed. You've got your balance sheet. again, with the budget. So if you're using the budget inside of SAP Business One, we're able to leverage that and bring that directly in. You've got the information as it relates to GL transactions, being able to go down granular, right down to the lowest level of detail. Now, the solution architecture that we're talking about is we're connecting onto SAP Business One, and we're using our own intellectual property with regards to ICI to get that information into what we refer to as a staging environment. So we're bringing the tables that we need, and we're not working with a live feed or a live connection to SAP Business One, because we're organizing things in such a way so that we can create what's called a reporting database, so we can massage the information, we can filter it, we can put in additional calculations and additional fields that may or may not exist inside of SAP Business One to make the reporting experience for the business user much more user-friendly. We bring that into a reporting database, also known as a data warehouse, and from there, we go ahead and connect the Cognos tools directly to that warehouse. So that's the architecture. That's how it looks. From the solution that we now make available that Arani's using is there's the reporting and dashboarding side of things, which gives you that reporting database, the dashboarding capability and the reporting capability, and then there's the additional part, which is the financial reporting that's available that's going to give that reporting database, that dashboarding as well, and reporting against the financials, but also with the ability of going down to planning, where you can actually go ahead and enter directly into the tool your budgets and be able to do actual versus budget analysis and entering that information rather than pulling things in, either from SAP or from an Excel spreadsheet. You can actually enter that information and it's a live feed inside of there. Okay? You can also do what-if scenarios inside of that. So the solution overview, basically, the solution has been designed such that it's simple and really made for business users. It makes things easier for IT to be able to make something like this available to the business to be able to run things on their own. It's quick. As you see in the presentation, the demo that Dennis has done, how easy it is to work with and how business user-friendly it is. And again, it's designed to give you answers to the questions that you need answered right away without having to wait and go see other people to ask questions. You're leveraging your investment that you've already done inside of SAP Business One. We're not reinventing the wheel. We're pulling the information from SAP Business One that you spent a lot of time getting things up and running. It's just providing you a much user-friendly, from a business perspective, to be able to get at that information in a quick and easy fashion. And we've made it scalable. So this way it's not just for one user. If you want to make it available for multiple users in the organization, or if you want to create reports and then they can run those reports in an easy fashion with a series of prompts, you can do that as well. Pass it back over to Dennis. Dennis?
Thanks, Troy. So basically, I've been a part of many projects, and this one was a success story. We had, from kickoff to phase one rollout, 68 days basically went by. And we got this project delivered on time and on budget by staying focused on three key elements. We, Arani and NewIntelligence listened to each other, and we ultimately stayed focused on building a solution that met our needs. And then we basically made sure that solution was scalable as our business was changing and evolving and growing quickly so that we could add users and functionality as we needed to. The partnership is a good one in that we work together. We listen to each other, and they've helped us, and we've helped ourselves, basically empowering ourselves with good data. We're leveraging our investments. We're leveraging our information company-wide, whereas before we were not. We've definitely implemented and maintained some best practices, and we've standardized our information and how we review things internally. And ultimately, as a solution, Cognos with SAP Business One is used company-wide, and it's something that people rely on a daily basis. And if something doesn't work or something's down, we know basically how to fix it quickly here, and we basically are looking at the right data at the right levels to drive the business forward. So we're set to grow, and we've changed our culture, and we've eliminated excuses. We had a lot of excuses in what we were doing before because we didn't have the right information, and now we're confident. And that culture change of confidence with meaningful information is just moving us in the right direction in the future.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Dennis. So that pretty much, concludes what we want to show you. We're going to now go into a Q&A section in regards to the solution and see what sort of questions came up during the presentation and see how we might be able to address those. So I'll open up the floor now to questions and then take things from there.
All right, so this is Jennifer speaking to you. I'm going to just go through a few of the questions that came in. We'll see what we can cover in the time that we have remaining. First one is, I have my budgets in Excel. Can I get that into Cognos?
Yeah, that's a great question. Yeah, absolutely. If you have that in Excel, can you get into Cognos? Yeah. So any information that you have that's sitting in Excel, you have the ability to upload directly into the system, and you'll be able to do your actual versus budget with an Excel spreadsheet. So it's very straightforward, and even from a business user perspective, you would be able to do that.
Okay, great. The next question, how come you're not connecting to SAP B1 directly and are instead using a separate database?
Yeah, at the end of the day, the major reason why we're doing that is because, again, it allows us to pull the information that we need, and it simplifies the information that we're looking at from SAP Business One. There's a lot of fields and a lot of different tables inside of SAP Business One, and we're trying to make it in such a way that the user experience is able to have a simplified way of looking at things without having to worry about establishing relationships to different tables and looking at cryptic field names in regards to inside of SAP Business One and being able to look at it in a very logistic fashion. So that's why we've done it that way.
Okay, next question was, what is included in the training provided with the solution?
So again, when we provide the training, we provide the end user training as well. So it's not just a matter of the implementation that we're putting in play for customers or that Arani did. We actually give them the end user training so that they become fully self-sufficient on their own without requiring third-party involvement.
Okay, the next one, what is the biggest gain you can describe for your company? I think this would be addressed to Dennis with respect to Arani.
Well, I mean, top of mind is a bunch of things. There's a lot of different things that I think this has brought in terms of value, but top of mind, I think time and profitability are two areas that I just see major improvement. We've got people now focused on analysis as opposed to scurrying around running reports that are stale the moment they're done. And ultimately, we've got the right vantage point to identify and exploit opportunities, so our profitability is much, much stronger and just continues to get better.
Okay, thanks, Dennis. Another one here, I'll try to get in time. How well would a solution like this adapt to a family of companies spread across multiple SAP company databases?
So what would happen in that particular case is what we would do is we would have the information would come in and we would create a common area for the solution. So when we go ahead and stage the data, we'll go ahead and bring in the multiple databases into the solution and provide a level of prefix between the two so that there's no overlap between the two systems and be able to simplify things. So that would provide the ability to look at multi-company in your environment, being able to leverage this sort of technology.
Okay, great. Thanks, Corey. I'll turn the floor back over to Maureen as we're running out of time here and we need to wrap it up.
Thank you so much, Jennifer, Dennis, and Corey for a great webcast. On behalf of ASUG, I'd like to thank NewIntelligence as well as everyone who took the time today to attend this webcast. If you did have additional questions, you can contact our speakers directly by clicking on the speaker engagement tool on your screen. Before we go, though, I'd like to leave you with some quick information on ASUG for anyone unfamiliar with our user group. ASUG helps connect SAP customers to the people and information that they need to maximize their investment in SAP. If you'd like to speak to someone about becoming a member, please message info@asug.com. As mentioned before, the recording and slides from today's program will be posted to the ASUG website, and all registrants will receive a follow-up email. Please take a moment to complete the survey on the right of your console or by clicking on the green survey engagement tool at the bottom of your screen. With that, I'd like to close today's webcast. Have a great day, everyone.
Thank you.